So you bought your podcasting equipment, you got your microphone, you got the hardware, the software, you warmed up your vocal cords, and now you're wondering, what the heck do I even talk about? What is this podcast gonna be about? That's what I wanna talk to you guys about today in this video. My name is Nicole Abboud of Abboud Media, and we help improve the way lawyers and clients connect using two mediums, videos, so video marketing, and podcasting. I myself have been podcasting since 2015. I absolutely love the platform, and I help other lawyers set up their shows. And one of the most common, questions that I get or inquiries from lawyers when we're kind of going through this consultation of setting up their show, kind of getting everything together in the beginning, is the most common question is, should I make my podcast show about the legal practice area that I'm in, or should it be about something else? So that's usually the dilemma or the questions that the lawyers are asking themselves. So I want to offer 3 tips, if you will. So just 3 questions you can ask yourself to figure out what the subject matter of your podcast should be about. The first tip, the first question to ask yourself is, what can I stand talking about every single day? So granted, your podcast is not going to be a daily kind of podcast, but just take a step back and ask yourself, what is a subject matter? What's a topic that I can stand to talk about all the time? Because believe me, you will be talking about it all the time. So if your practice area doesn't excite you enough to want to talk about it all the time, so you're at work all day, working on motions, on contracts, whatever it is that you do, whatever area you're in, you're spending all day in that practice. And if the last thing you want to do is kind of keep doing that on your podcast as well, that's a pretty good indication that your podcast should not be about your practice area. Tip number 2. So, second question to ask yourself is, what topic does interest you? What is something that you can talk about all the time, that you are super knowledgeable about, that you can, when you go to parties, you find yourself talking about it, at mixers, you find yourself talking about it, your family tells you stop talking about it. Now, whether that's your practice area or not, it's possible that it is, but just ask yourself, what is it that you love talking about? What's your passion? That is a good indication of what your podcast subject matter should be. Because if it's something that you just cannot stop talking about, then you know what? Record it. Make that your podcast. The third thing to consider when you are contemplating what this amazing podcast is going to be about is, how will this contribute to my overall brand? So you need to stop and think about your current brand and where you actually want to be in your career a few years down the line. If you want to become known as the best employment law attorney in your city, in your town, in your state, then more than likely, maybe your podcast should be about employment law or something that's directly related. But if you want to be an author, if you want to be a speaker and you want to speak and write about a topic that's not related to your practice, and you feel like this podcast is really going to help you build that platform to get you to that speaking career and get you to that writing career, then you can base your podcast on something else that's not your practice area. So it's really taking a step back and looking at your brand and thinking about how this podcast that you're about to create can get you where you want to go, how it will bring opportunities your way that will help open up doors for you for whatever it is that you have in mind for yourself and your career in the future, right? And a lot of lawyers think that launching a podcast that is not law related, that is not related to the practice area that they're in, won't benefit them in the sense that it won't bring them clients and it won't really do much for them in terms of marketing, because it's not about them as lawyers or it's not about them in their practice area. And that is completely false. There are so many lawyers who have podcast shows that are not related to their practice areas, and they are still getting clients from those podcasts. They are still increasing their visibility and building their brands because of the fact that they have a podcast, and it does really well. So an example that comes to mind is a friend of mine. His name is Jim Hacking, and he co-hosts a podcast called The Maximum Lawyer. And him and his co-host Tyson, they talk about legal marketing, and they help other lawyers with marketing, branding, business development. So they don't necessarily talk about their respective practice areas, but they're still gaining attention, and they're building their own practices just by having a podcast. And the fact that it's good, it's really well done, and it's valuable and helpful, it still helps them build their brand, even when it's not directly related to their practice area. Now, it's important to note that my friend Jim actually has another podcast that is directly practice law related. So he practices immigration law, and he has one that's based on immigration law. So he has another one that's more directly related to his practice area. So don't think that a podcast that is not law related won't be beneficial at all or won't help you market your practice, because it definitely will. Again, if you're doing it correctly, if you're doing it the right way. So if you want to toss around some ideas, if you want to brainstorm and just kind of hash out a few ideas that you might have for a podcast and you just want someone to listen, I am here for you. So just leave your questions, leave a little message in the comments, we'll connect, and I'd be happy to work through any of your podcasting questions with you. So thank you for listening. If you haven't connected with me already, please go ahead and do so. Connect with me on social media, and I will catch you guys in the next video.